Um, Riven was released in 1997. Yeah, 1997. Riven is the sequel to Myst. And Myst is the game that gets all the attention because it is like it's an extraordinarily famous game. Let's see. If you're younger, then you might not have heard of Myst, but Myst was I think, to give you an idea, Myst is on display at the Smithsonian Video Game Museum, and I think it's one of only 5 games there that are actually playable. Or when the museum was first set up, that's the way that they had it, my understanding. Myst originally came out in 1993, and it was like a breakthrough video game and interactive experience on PCs. It was like one of the first games to be on CD-ROM, and the premise of the game was that you effectively just played as yourself, and you were dropped onto an island with nobody else on it, and it would be a point and click where you wander around the island and make discoveries and solve puzzles in order to kind of progress the story. You could say that Myst practically invented atmospheric storytelling. Not literally. I mean, in games, not literally, but in the sense that like Myst almost purely relied on atmospheric storytelling. And they pushed it further in Riven, where atmospheric storytelling is literally required in order for you to kind of solve the puzzles and progress through the game. There are, how do I put it? Myst is a game where you're kind of faced with like puzzles and mechanical things that you have to like figure out how to use. Riven is more like, it has puzzles that you have to solve based on an understanding of your environment and like the culture and stuff like that. So anyway, let's get started now. I'll keep talking about it as we jump in. Also, this game is very, very pretty. Like, it's all like pre-rendered images and video, but like you will not believe that this game was released in 1997, and you can imagine how mind-blowing it must have been back then to like be able to play a game like this on your computer.
Thank God you've returned. I need your help. There's a great deal of history that you should know, but I'm afraid that I must continue my writing. Here. Most of what you'll need to know is in there. Keep it well hidden.
The story of this game is kind of a direct follow-up of Myst, but it's not very closely correlated. So it works as a standalone as well.
I can't send you to Riven with a way out, but I can give you this. It appears to be a linking book back here to Dunny. But it's actually a one-man prison. You'll need it, I'm afraid, to capture Gan. Once you've found Catherine, Signal me, and I'll come with a linking book to bring us back. There's also a chance, if this all goes well, that I might be able to get you back to the place that you came from.
Yo? Feriaje. Kakaware po. Modugo po men po. Tagema. Rekoa. Tagema musu rekoa. Wisirapo. Wisirapo. Mutika bukua nai. Wisirapo. Mutika bukua nai. Bukuan ay. Sirap. Bukuan ay. Bukuan. Bukuan ay. Bukuan ay.
We're free. This lever no longer works anymore. There's a dagger jammed in it. The premise of this game is very, very difficult to summarize. But I'll try. A lot of it is in this journal, and it's like based on some information you learned in Myst, and it's based on the novels that they wrote. What you need to know is that there was a civilization called Dunny, and I know there are some Aussies in here, so you're probably laughing already. There was a civilization called Dunny. It was like this underground civilization, and they were like really technologically advanced, and their sort of magnum opus accomplishment is that they were able to create these books called linking books, where they were effectively able to write like a poetic novel, like describing a different world, and using the perfect using this, art of writing, as they called it, and the perfect combination of materials, they could craft books that allow you to touch the panel on the front of the book in order to link you into this world that was written. And it like brings you into like alternate universes, basically. That civilization has since collapsed. with the exception of one person who was a baby when the civilization collapsed. And so now as an adult, he is obsessed with the idea of rebuilding the civilization. He misunderstands the art of writing and believes that rather than linking to an infinite pool of existing worlds, he believes that he's creating the worlds that he writes. He is a extremely pragmatic and scientific and calculated person who has learned the art of writing through kind of copying existing material rather than understanding it as like an art or a poetry. So all of the worlds he's written, including this one that we're in, is on the verge of collapse. Now his son, who was the guy we were interacting with at the beginning, better understands the art of writing, and right now he is writing in this book in order to try to prevent the world from collapsing. And your mission is basically to come into this world, find Atris's wife, who is lured here and is being held prisoner. Find her so that we have a way of bringing her out, as well as capturing the guy's father, like the person who wrote this world. Because this guy is basically writing these worlds and going into them and thinking that he's the god of these people and can like do whatever he wants with them. And Atris wants to stop his father from doing that. That's probably the most, the most decent summary I can provide of what's going on. So now, yeah, we're put on this world that has like a native population, but Atris's father, Gan, came here and he wants to try to rebuild the Dunny civilization. So he's like, he's like a scientist, so he can like flex his science as like god powers and make these guys believe that he's some kind of god. And then he's trying to like sort of corrupt and like rebuild the Dunny civilization using like the natives of Riven. There's our friend. Yeah, so we're kind of just aimlessly like dropped into this world, and so Atris gave us a couple of things. He gave us this summary book, which is like his own journal about what's going on with Riven. A lot of the stuff I explained about how it's like on the brink of collapse, and he has to like, find a way to stop it from collapsing, but also like rescue his wife. And then he gave us another book, which is, in the intro, he said that it appears to be a linking book back to Dunny. And Atris's father, of course, really wants to go back to Dunny because that's like the civilization he's obsessed with, and it has like all the materials to write linking books and stuff like that. Atris's father is trapped on this world because of past events. They managed to like trap him here. And it's like without a link back to Dunny. And, he's not able to write linking books here because he doesn't have the materials. So now we have what looks like a linking book to Dunny, but it was like carefully modified, and it's actually a prison book. So if you try to use the book, then it just like puts you in a permanent limbo, like a permanent void, and you're trapped forever. So the idea was to bring you here with that book, use it as bait for Gan, Atris's father, and like Gan will try to steal it, and like, he'll want to go back to Dunny, so he links it, or he tries to use it, and then he gets trapped forever. That's supposed to be the plan. However, when we were dropped onto this world, there was that guy who like stole the book from us. And so now we don't know where it ended up. It was presumably with that person in the mask who came along. I think they took the book. So now all we have left is like that small journal that Atris gave us. So this room must be some kind of temple. And then you have this imagery that like, I don't know, shows like the books and the worshipping. And look at this, there's like all these cut trees, and then they're like going into this wood chipper, presumably to make the books. Look at that, there's the god who's like writing the worlds out of the books. So right away, like if you have a solid understanding of the premise, like you can already see Gan's influence on this world. It's kind of creepy. Toaster Waffles, I would say that like Myst gives some background on how the universe works, like with the linking books and, you know, the ability to like use the art of writing to create linking books. But there aren't a huge number of ties between the story of that game and the story of this game. So I wouldn't say it's like, oh, I looked at them all. I wouldn't say it's 100% necessary. Okay, where to? This was not made by the same people who made like the Nancy Drew games or other point-and-click adventure games. They pretty much like they made Myst and Riven basically, and then some additional games later on. And now there's a remake of Myst. And in fact, Toaster Waffles, if you were interested, then I would recommend checking out the Myst remake that came out like a month ago. Yeah, but in the 90s, this became a very popular type of like game or media, was like these interactive CD-ROM games. But I think those experiences were like spearheaded by Cyan with Myst and later Riven. And I don't think there was any way that anyone else at the time would be able to match like what they managed to accomplish. Who knows what that does? And I say that, but I do. But the point is that, like, it's a good example of, in order to understand what this does, even if not for puzzle purposes, but literally just, like, you know, literally everything is here for a reason. And by a reason, I mean not a game developer reason. It's like it has a reason to be here in this world. It serves a function of some kind. And so as you learn more about the world, like you start to put those pieces together, and it's almost like you get the aha moments of solving puzzles, but you're not literally solving puzzles. You're getting the aha moments of like understanding more things about the world that you come across, and that's a really satisfying feeling. I haven't played the Myst remake yet now. I have to decide if I want to like play it as is, like on the couch, or if I want to play it in VR first. But I'll probably try it in VR first. And I'll remind you again that this game came out in 1997. Like, the artwork and attention to detail and the music and like everything is like, it's hard to imagine how forward thinking it was. Or it must have been, I should say. I'll see you later, Nikki Bugs. I watched a bunch of Hunter x Hunter recently as well. I enjoyed it. So I hope you are as well. And here's presumably some people giving offerings to a giant fish of some kind. And then in that previous room, I like pulled a lever to open a door, and it was this door that I opened. Let's go out here. That's awesome, Stale Meme. Yeah, it was kind of the same for us, where it was like my dad who like got and played Mist and Riven, but it like eventually became something that we would sort of play together. Like him and me and my brother. My memories are vague, but yeah, when I was like really young, that's kind of what it was like. And it was so immersive and unsettling, you know, and creepy. The game came on 5 discs. Let me see if I think I have a physical copy. Hold on. Yeah, it's over on my shelf. I'm going to show you the discs. Hold on. So, oh, thank you, Fluff Rock. I appreciate it. Okay, here's the box it came in. I mean, this was in like a larger box. This is like the smaller box with the discs in it. And look at these discs. So it's like the same as those pictures that you saw in the temple. But like, look at this incredible design. Yeah, and there's 5 of them. And I think the game probably could have fit on 3 or 4 discs, but the number 5 is like a strongly recurring theme in this game. It's like a very important number in this world. And so it's really suitable that there's 5 discs. And every time you travel to a different island, you have to like put in a different disc as well. So I have memories, you know, when I was a little kid of you would travel to a different island, and then there's this anticipation because once you get to the island, your computer's CD drive would eject automatically. And there was always just like a really unsettling feeling to me. It was like, because this game already has these like this really creepy atmosphere, and then it's like you move to a different island, and then it gets silent, and then your CD drive pops open and asks you to like put in a different disc. I don't know. It was very creepy to me. Well, that was fun. You know, another thing that is you really don't see nowadays is this game literally requires you to take notes in order to progress. Not just because there's certain like symbols that you'll want to write down, like this one, and maybe like where you find it, but like all of the details that you take in this game, like it's like you want to keep track of the things that you find and like your understanding of why they might be there and things like that. You know, thinking from a game design perspective, one thing that's really interesting is like, you know, we are like as gaming enthusiasts, we approach games differently than a non-gamer would. And what I mean by that is, and games are also made with this understanding, depending on the target demographic. If we are exploring in an adventure game or whatever it might be, whenever we come across a detail in the game, we ask ourselves why the developer put that there. It's like everything needs to have a purpose. Everything needs to have a purpose because that's why the developer put it there. And it's this unspoken language between the player and the developer where things are put in the game to give the player a signal that there must be a purpose to some area or some object or whatever. And that's how we approach playing games and, I don't know, figuring things out in adventure games or, I don't know, puzzle games or whatever it might be. There were some games made in the 90s that did not follow that premise at all, where they wanted to make games that were far removed from gaming enthusiasts. And Myst and Riven are examples of that, where they wanted to just take normal people and put them in this world and have them behave in the world as normal people would behave. And that makes things very different. Like your relationship with the world and the way that you process information is very different if you do that. It becomes less about like the developer must have put this there for a reason, and your curiosity is more like who in this world put that there and what were they doing with it. It's like a much more natural relationship with the game world, and this game was like based really, really heavily around that idea. And to a lesser extent Myst was as well, but this game like really cranked that up a lot. And there are even some details that like if you're a gamer and you pick up this game, I mean, and there are also things about this game that are like not perfectly designed, you know, like certain details that happens in a lot of puzzle games. It's like when you finally figure out or find a certain detail, it feels more frustrating that you missed it for so long rather than gratifying that you found it. So this game definitely has some of that, especially because navigation can be a little bit difficult with this like point and click system, you know? Like you're not always sure where you can go and where you can't go. It's like if you miss on something that you're able to click on or go somewhere, it's like, are you able to go back here? Like you have to click and be like, no, you can't go back there. It's like the feedback is a little bit off just based on like the way this game's mechanics work. Hey, thanks for the raid, King Cam Blackman. But I believe that there are some details in this game that gamers are more likely to miss than non-gamers. Just because of the way that gamers are, like the way they habitually process a game world and the way they habitually interact with it is very different. It's like more meta and more mechanical. Now there's someone in that tower sounding the alarm. Yeah, you see it happen the other way around too, where non-gamers, they pick up a game and something that is extremely obvious and intuitive to us, it's like they are accidentally applying real-world logic instead of video game logic. But this is a game where they want you to apply real-world logic, and it's kind of interesting for that reason. We're finding a bunch of these rolling eyeball marbles with different symbols on them. Yeah, this game has an enormous amount of just retracing all the different areas and looking for new details that you may have missed, or like trying to come up with different ways of interpreting the details that are there. Okay. There's some kind of track in the water, but the ladder leads to nothing. So let's head back in the other direction. I did play Myst 4, but I didn't finish it either. There was one part that I like sort of got stuck on, but I ended up like reading some spoilers from the plot, and it really put me off, I think. Like the way the direction that they decided to take the story, it was really off-putting. Like in my sort of headcanon, Riven is like sort of the definitive end of the series, you know? And I think that was their intention as well, but then they eventually, I guess, were convinced to keep it going. And I like wasn't a fan of Myst 3 at all. Again, the story just wasn't there. It had some very cool areas, but the story was just really bizarre and like unfulfilling. I have read the Myst novels, yeah. I really liked them. All right. You know, we got some choices, so I'm going to let chat decide again. We have several paths to go here. There's like this left path. There's the gate. And then there's the minecart. So, what are we doing? Dang Minecraft players. Coming into everyone's streams and doing this. Oh yeah, and you know, if you notice, this is like, there's like a bunch of cut trees in this area as well. And that kind of lines up with one of those like religious images that we saw earlier. That kind of taught us that trees are being cut down to produce books. And that's an interesting point as well, because like, you know, part of this plot was that Gan was trapped here because he had no way of creating new linking books, and we wanted to stop him from like trampling on these worlds, basically. But he was trapped here 30 years ago, according to the story. And so I think the idea is that he's been desperately like trying to create more linking books with the extremely primitive resources and materials he has. All right, here we go. The dude at the beginning, it's his dad that we're trying to capture. Alright, Imby Pink Gamer, thanks for joining us today. And I appreciate it. And I hope to see you around. Hello, Johnny Zero, as well. Okay. Kind of a scary ending there. Do I think a DDLC could ever work as a horror film? That's like not really for me to decide, because I don't like. I choose not to have any kind of authoritative opinion on fan content of any kind. I just would like for people to creatively express themselves however they would like to. Yeah, look at this. It's like a wood chipper. So, there, you could go back up if you want. Remember that these are all pre-rendered images and videos. Like, this is not live 3D rendering. There's no possible way that a computer could do this in 1997, like render this live. It's all pre-rendered. Can you imagine how many thousands of images and videos that they had to render and like meticulously stitch together in this game? It's ridiculous to think about. So now we're in this area. This is like some kind of boiler. And then we have this over here with this. this lever. So who knows what that's for. But you can see multiple pipes coming out of this lever. Or this like piece of machinery. You can point the lever to different pipes. So let's see where this one goes. And this is an example of like a little awkwardness that comes from the pre-rendering. It's like it's really hard to visually trace these pipes to like their locations, you know what I mean? It's like this one in the very back, which is kind of at the base of this thing, like that goes back and you see it going up to like this bridge, okay? So this one, it's like, is that this one or was it like a different one? So I think this pipe is this one, which is kind of weird. But maybe it's not. Because like this one on the left clearly goes to here. So then there's this pipe, and that's like the next one over. So I guess that pipe is this one. And then this one is like... I think I understand. So this back one goes to the middle part of the bridge, and then if we turn this way, you can see a pipe going up to this end of the bridge. So that must be like the backmost pipe. But yeah, that's like... I think that they could have chosen better angles to render that. Because it like... I think that that's like a significant detail that you need to more intuitively understand. Yeah, so this pipe that I like activated is coming over to the wood chipper. There was a lever up here. Where are all the other humans? You actually do come across people, like, here and there in the game. But what you learn is, like, that larger island that I was on before I came to this one, is the only island that the villagers are allowed on. So there's, like, 5 islands, and that's the biggest one, and that's, like, the one with the villagers. And then all of the other islands were basically monopolized by Gan. So it's, like... he like, you know, appoints special guild people, and those are the only ones who have access to the other islands. Gan has kind of just like taken them over for his own scientific pursuits. And there are 5 islands in the first place because, again, Gan originally wrote this world and he did a really crappy job, so it's like collapsing, and it was used to be like one big island, but it split into 5. Okay, so we learned that we can use this to power different devices. So we can turn it towards this one and presume that it powers the boiler over here, or something about it anyway. There's like a million levers to mess with here. There's this one, there's this one, there's this one, there's this one. There's a lot going on. Well, let's start with this one. What does this do? Yeah, the canon material states that there's like an infinite pool of ages or universes, and when you write a linking book, you're writing to an existing one. And that is like Atris's understanding of how it works, and it's his father Gan who believes that he's creating the worlds. Oh yeah, I'm definitely going to try the new Mist in VR. Okay. So now the flame's out there, and the water's no longer boiling. So, yeah, this must be what controls the heat. This one's doing nothing, but let's follow the pipe. This is another, like, struggle to follow the pipe example. It appears as though it's linked to this, so I'd want to do that. And then don't know what the other direction does, but now we can find out what this does. That happens, Stephen R., in games like this. And that is like an unfortunate design flaw that can come about. There are certain like hard to notice details that like you can miss so many times, and it can, as I mentioned, it's like when you finally discover it, it can actually be frustrating that you missed it rather than satisfying to have discovered it. Nice. I don't know if I ever got a full understanding of like where is, you know, this is filled with water, and you know that's clearly a pump, so I guess it's like pumping it from the lake, but I don't really understand like how it fills and drains and how this pipe is like associated, you know. You know, I guess this is the pump mechanism. So you attach the pipe, and then the pump, I guess, can like do its thing and like draw water up into, but I'm like not totally sure. And then like, is the water supposed to be draining out of here, and then they just like were not able to technically make that happen because they couldn't really animate water? I'm not sure. But we can go inside now. Yeah, this is a game where like, you know, it's like over the course of, I don't know, a year, it's like you could just pop back in this game every now and then and like wander around and see if you can find anything new. That's sort of like what the experience is like for a lot of people. Or was like. That's what it was like for me, anyway. I guess you could say even Yume Nikki's a little similar to that in that sense. Even if that game is about wandering aimlessly and not solving puzzles. Now we're up here. I'm gonna open this. A little shortcut hatch. What could it be? What could it be? This is a good example too. Who knows what this contraption could possibly be for. And also this lever doesn't work, but we did see one of those pipes like running up to this area, so you know, presumably you could get it to work with that. But yeah, in order to like, you know, understand what this is for, there's like other things in the world that you have to learn about, and then you have to like kind of make your best guess as to what it might be for. It's a propane grill. Yeah, and that's tough. I'm gonna go back to the other island because there's so much more to explore there. And this one is kind of like, I don't know, drab. Is that the best way to put it? The other island is like the one with all the villagers, and there's all like the cultural stuff there. And we get to ride this cart again, just backwards this time. Hello, Boothie. You actually learn an interesting detail about, like, see, look when we're going into the water. Look at this. See how there's like, we're not like in a tunnel, like the water is literally just like surrounding us. And you learn a detail that is not important for puzzle solving, but it's just an interesting world building detail, that this water has a bacteria in it that is averse to heat. And so they make a tunnel out of these like heated rings, and the bacteria like move away from it, and I guess water has like adhesion properties, and so they like pull the water away from heat sources, and that's how they do that. And I think you learn in one of the books as well that like they can't even drink the water here. They have to like mix like a certain plant or powder in it in order to kill the bacteria before they can drink it. Maybe they can boil the water too to take care of that. I'm sure that would kill the bacteria. Okay, let's go in here. Okay. Some nature again, that's nice. This is one of the unfair like point and click moments. It is very, very difficult to actually notice that you can go down here, you know? This is like a very kind of straight path. So that's kind of unfair. It's something that, yeah, if it was a 3D game or if it was real life, you would immediately notice this. But in a point and click, it's like you have to just happen to get the right angle. Then you find another one of these. Oh, look at that up there. I can't look up at it. Okay, we'll go right first. I did play The Witness. I actually somewhat recently got 100% completion after like quite a while of playing and revisiting it various times, and it was a really fulfilling game. I enjoyed it a whole lot. Like, it kept surprising and impressing me with how much you can do with like the puzzle system. So I got that alarm again. Yeah, so clearly they're on the watch for you as an intruder, and whenever you're in the area, they sound the alarm. And I think going to... Oh yeah, look at this. It's like a woman pulling her kid away. It's like there's a strange man coming. Get away from here. Look at these like weird structures. They're like houses. You know, I'm thinking about it, it's quite sad that like all the villagers are just like crammed up in this corner in these tiny little houses. It's kind of messed up. You're not able to do that, Stephen R. Usually when one of those videos is playing, like, you're just not able to move. That's a yikes. Okay, that's not happening. Guess it makes sense. It doesn't have anywhere to go. Let's pull this lever. Hey, thanks for the 16 months, Macho Madness. I'll see you around. I'm just gonna steal someone's dinner. But can't. This is not Breath of the Wild. Oh, I didn't even realize you could see it from here, but yeah. That's the vessel that I lowered from that cliffside. That's neat. It's not here, that's a different one. These guys are back. What a cute couple. Oh yeah, I forgot that I should probably be clicking less quickly because there's like people watching. So I'm like zooming around. All right, Sean, I'll see you later. Yeah, you're right. The villagers, I guess they don't really have like guards. It's like there's kind of two camps. There's like the villagers who are just like these, I don't know, like poor native inhabitants like trying to live their lives, and then there's Gan and like the corruption that he's spread and like the people he's appointed who like work for him. So I would imagine that anyone who you could consider like a guard or a watch person like is someone who's appointed by Gan. But I think that does raise an interesting question. It's like, he probably knows you're here, so why would he not just like, I don't know, send someone to like capture you or something like that? And you know, I think you like, you sort of learn that later on as the story unfolds, like, because everyone has like these sort of, you know, complex, multifaceted motives. That you also kind of learn about. So it's pretty interesting. And we have access to this now, so that's cool. Now we're in here. But I think we are just about out of time for today, so I don't think I will be exploring the sea this time around. But yeah, overall, like, I've barely scratched the surface with this game. It's rather expansive in the things you can find and the stuff it has to offer. But I'm really just like very glad that, you know, it's something that I was able to share with a bunch of people, because it was influential in the way that I understood games and the things that I liked about them. And it was very groundbreaking for the time, and I think helps really helps you understand like what can be done with interactive media. Oh, Trihex! Wow, thanks for the raid. What terrible timing, because I was getting ready to wrap up, so what do I do now? Trihex gang reporting it. That's so funny. Everyone's like picking their favorite character and saying they're reporting in. Thanks so much. Dude, I want to Oh, there was supposed to be a specific girl for the raid. Everyone's changing it up. That's so good. Thanks so much, though. I appreciate it. And I want to try to get on a call with you soon. We haven't caught up in a while. That'd be fun. Thanks so much. And hello to all of Triax's viewers. We go way back, man, at this point. But, you know, today we're, of course, here to celebrate the anniversary of DDLC. And I was, you know, it was a pretty chill stream. I was just, like, sharing some things that I enjoyed. Like, I started with some Melee, and then I played Yume Nikki, and now I was wrapping up playing Riven. You know, some games that were very meaningful to me. Oh yeah, the Omocat merch, dude. I'm wearing one of their shirts, actually. See? Zebra Finch, this is not a game that you can finish one sitting. Like, I could theoretically finish it in an hour if I, like, rush through it, you know what I mean? But I am not going to do that, because this is a game that you know, that is not best experienced in that way, I don't think. If I were to play this start to finish, like, on stream, then I'd probably dedicate like 5 or 6 hours to it if I were to do that. Yeah, but for the Triax viewers who just popped in, can you look at, like, so this is clearly like a pre-rendered point-and-click adventure game. My what I want you to do is guess what year this game came out. I'm interested in, just, like, without knowing, like, what is your perspective, and just looking at, you know, like, the game's general production. I'm curious, like, what everyone would think. Everyone's pretty close, actually. Came out last year. Yeah, clearly. Yeah, this game came out in 97. But I think it helps to understand, like, when, you know, pre-rendered point-and-click adventure games were popular, and it was, you know, it is a 90s genre. So, good call on that. Yeah, you were close. But one thing, like, you have to admit that the production quality on this game is pretty next level for a game that came out in 97. Hey, Yami. Yeah, and I wanted to show this game on stream because it's, like, not only one of my favorite games, but I was explaining, like, a lot of the atmospheric storytelling that this game performed, which, like, I believe in the 90s the term atmospheric storytelling, oh, the store's closed now, like, did not really even exist yet. But this is a game that unlike Myst, where a lot of the puzzles are, like, kind of self-contained and you have to figure out some mechanical solution to the puzzles, this is a game where the ability to solve most puzzles comes from an understanding of your environment and the story and the people, and sometimes the culture, things like that. And that is something that is extremely unique to this game, and something that I just have really not seen other games do, but I wish I could see them do. Oh. Oh, that's a yikes. If there's any clear indication that we're being watched, then it's that. No, and this door's closed too. Yeah, the pre-rendered nature and how like they give you specific angles to look at, that is a blessing and a curse. It can be good because like there are some details that if the world was truly boundless, they would be a lot easier to miss. But it works the other way around too, where it can be really easy to miss details because you cannot free roam. Like sometimes there's just one frame and there's like something in the corner of the frame that like indicates like something that you know, kind of need to know. And that can cause you to like miss important things. This is a really good example while we're on the topic. And I wasn't going to bother with this before, but like you would like this is a case where they literally tried to leverage like that sort of pre-rendered, you know, static camera angle system, because you have this gate and what they want you to do is hope that you notice this item down here. And try to click on it. In most other instances where you'd be faced with this in something like a game, you would never try clicking in an area like this. So I think they put this item here. They want you to click on it. And then you can learn, based on that you can go under the door. So that is, like, sort of... It's, like, sort of intuitive game design, but also, like, a weird... Like... It's like they're exploiting, you know, their own game design limitation by making you, quote, accidentally discover this weird solution just by happening to like click on something that triggers like your understanding that you can do that. So that's like something that if this is a free roam game, they wouldn't have to like rely on that sort of weird system to make that possible. And then you have to ask yourself, like, why do that in the first place? It's like they locked this door to sort of artificially limit, like they want you to wander around a lot before you find this detail and learn that you can go under it, you know what I mean? So it feels kind of artificial with the way that they pasted that out. And if you have put 10 hours into this game and you haven't yet discovered that you can do that, and then finally after going to the same areas like, you know, a dozen times in a row, you like kind of accidentally discover that, like it's not really a satisfying moment. It's satisfying in the sense that you finally found something new after such a long time, but like you also feel kind of bad that it was like for a silly reason, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's kind of like a weird back and forth merit where like I think that if you are perfect with game design, then you won't really fall into weird traps like that. But this game is comprised of thousands upon thousands of pre-rendered images and videos, and so there is no way that they can like be that comprehensive and make like every camera angle perfect, you know what I mean? of course, the other big advantage of the game being pre-rendered is that like they can make the visuals just absolutely incredible, you know? Like what did real-time 3D look like in 1997? Not this. It's like even on you know, like around that time was when, you know, I think 98 was when Quake came out, or was it Half-Life that came out in 98? But anyway, it was around that time that you saw games like Quake and Unreal and Half-Life. And you ever see that game? It's a famous 90s gaming magazine where it like shows this polygonal like alien from Unreal, and it's like extremely polygonal. and then it writes like, yes, these are in-game graphics. Like, it was a really impressive thing. Like they're trying to wow people. Anyway, like it just kind of reminded me of that. But yeah, they took their deep pockets that they got from Myst and they poured it all into incredibly high production value of this game, and it really shows. You know, like I was still a little kid when like this game came out, or Fear got this game. Look, the guy's gone. I looked down there earlier and like the dude's body was there who was like killed at the beginning. Yeah, but like, I don't know, being an adult and getting this game on your like, you know, Pentium 2 computer or whatever, like, can you just imagine like the immersion with like the visuals and audio? Would just be like mind-boggling, and I like thinking about that. Yeah, the sound design and the audio in this game is also just really amazing for the time. It's forward thinking, just very like atmospheric. I heard at one point that they originally were not even going to have audio at all in Myst. They were so set on making it like as immersive as possible that they did not want to have audio because it wasn't like realistic to have background audio. But then they changed their minds later on and they added this atmospheric music, and I guess decided that music can be a tool to make it like more immersive. And this was happening in like 1992 and 93 when they were developing Myst. So if you're looking at like the timeline of gaming, that's super early on when you're talking about like the use of music as an immersive tool in your game, you know what I mean? Anyway, I'm just very glad that I had the chance to share this game with you. And I think we're like kind of at the end of our time here. So I'm gonna come back up here. Oh yeah, and I saw someone in chat point out that Salvato controller, that's right. I never became like an amazing player, but it was always one of my favorite rhythm games. Okay, let's close out of this game and just temporarily. Oh, did I close my media player? Oh, I guess I did. I had like a playlist with like the DDLC soundtrack and stuff like that, and I wanted to use that for an outro or whatever. Oh, let's pick a song to play. There we go. Hakunoka, I don't have like any additional information on the Nendoroids anyway. Yeah. Yeah, it was a little bit more chill this year, like the anniversary festivities, but it's like, you know, I really wanted to focus on kind of things that bring me a lot of joy and were influential to my career as a game developer. And yeah, those are two games that were highly influential for me, Yume Nikki and Riven. So really like glad that I had the opportunity to share, and I hope that as a viewer you also gain some insight into the sorts of themes in these games that I found myself really taking a liking to over time, and would even in some cases eventually like apply to DDLC in various ways, despite it being like, you know, such a different game from these two. But I think like hearing me talk about these games, you can probably get an understanding. Yeah, so I feel good. I had a great time. And I think that, let's see. Thank you, Narcolepsy, for sharing your experience. And I'm really glad that it was so meaningful. And that you enjoyed DDLC Plus as well. I appreciate it. I'm glad that you had the courage to share. What other song do I want to play? It's just looping. I accidentally had loop on. Let's play this one. Thank you, Johnny Zero. I haven't yet watched Evangelion, but I plan on getting to it. I was thinking I maybe should try to watch some Gundam first, because I understand that Evangelion, you know, I know it wouldn't be required or anything like that, but I'm interested in like learning more about the tropes of the mecha genre, so that I can more keenly see them in Evangelion and like what it does differently with them. Thank you, Fake Olive Garden. And thank you, Mario649. Okay. We're gonna go ahead and start a raid. We're gonna raid Glitch Cat. He is a top-level Super Mario World player, and if you haven't seen it before, then you'll see what I mean. But he's also a super chill person, and he like has some of the most chill chatting experiences, I guess you could say, in his streams. Like, he always talks about like cool stuff, and he's just a really down-to-earth guy. So, you know, between that and his like incredible skill, it just makes for like a really pleasant experience. And, you know, I'll probably be keeping him on tonight, so I hope that you can join me there as well and get something out of it as well. Or if it's your bedtime, then I respect that too. In any case, I like appreciate you sticking around for this stream. all this time. Yeah, so happy anniversary again. I'm gonna start streaming regularly again on Wednesdays and Fridays, and so I hope to see you around in those streams as well. Play some Melee, do some speedrunning, we'll see. But yeah, I very much appreciate all of you. Thank you so much. I love the DDLC community and how wholesome and positive everyone is, and I hope to continue being able to cultivate that with more cool stuff in the future. So, you know, I don't have a speech prepared, but that's what I got. So yeah, thank you everybody. I appreciate you all very much, and I'll see you around soon. Take care.